Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Arcane. This time, we're on episode 8. The last episode was absolutely crazy. There was so much that happened throughout the episode, and it ended with that really cool fight between Echo and Jinx that we didn't exactly see how it turned out. Jinx looked like she dropped a pulled pin grenade next to Echo, so I wouldn't assume that either of them would have died from that, but knowing this show, it doesn't seem like it could be something that's completely out of the range of possibilities, but for now, I'm going to keep my hopes up that they're both still alive and well. Aside from that fight, of course, we also saw Marcus die on that bridge, which was an interesting choice by the writers. I'm quite frankly not sure how to feel about that, but to be honest, I am definitely disappointed that Marcus died the way he did. Throughout the series, I actually found Marcus to be a pretty interesting character. In actually a lot of ways, I thought he was similar to Jace. I guess it depends on how you look at it, but when you really get down to it, I think both Marcus and Jace both wanted to help the city, help the place in which they grew up, but they kind of walked different paths in order to get there. Each of them respectively defied their superiors' orders, with Jace continuing his hex tech experiments and Marcus sort of going vigilante mode and contacting Silco for help. They definitely both made mistakes. They definitely sort of took things into their own hands and made gambles. And so far they've had different outcomes, but we don't really know what's going to become of Jace, and his potential conquest to make weapons with the hex tech was where the direction seems to be going. I really like Jace as well, so I really hope he doesn't suffer the same outcome as Marcus, but I don't know, the similarities I feel are there, even if they are a little bit of a stretch. If you would like to check out my reaction to the finale of Arcane right now, episode 9 is over on my Patreon right now. The Patreon edition is also extended length, meaning you get more discussion and more reaction for every single episode. And you also get access, of course, to my other series I'm doing right now, which includes Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and soon enough, after Arcane is done, which I guess it will be by the time this goes up on YouTube, I will be having a poll for my next reaction series over there on Patreon, so be sure to go check that out. I have a lot of very good options on the poll, some suggested by the community, so be sure to go check it out. Without further ado, let's check out episode 8. Ooh, okay. We're gonna get some Medarda backstory, maybe. We know she's talked a lot about her family, but we haven't seen anything ourselves yet.
You'd give me a throne.
I will give you the world, child, if you prove you can take it.
So we're gonna learn a lot about what her actual motivations are, maybe. This is definitely a very different scene than we left off on.
What should we do with her?
Who's that? This is really interesting. I don't really know what to say yet. She's done, yeah.
A wolf has no mercy.
Wow, what an opening sequence. Right into the backdrop of her painting, is that? Oh, wow. You know, I've been very harsh on Medarda throughout the series. That's no secret, but I'm still definitely open-minded about her.
I'll be right back. Okay.
I just found her treatment of Jace a little bit sketchy. No, Marcus. Silco probably doesn't care too much about Marcus, at least. Look, that's what happens, Silco. Silco is such a good character. I'm gonna talk probably at length about him this episode, because I haven't really taken enough time to properly dissect some of my thoughts on him.
It's gone. What?
Wait, how? Oh, Jinx still has it?
It was all for nothing.
Well, that wasn't great then, was it? Say what you want about Silco, but he truly cares about Jinx, that's for sure. I am very sure we're going to get a lot more on Silco, but I just figured I would take this moment to sort of talk a little bit about what I think about him and kind of why I like him so much as a villain. I'm going to start it off by talking about what is probably one of the easiest things to recognize about Silco, and that's the fact that he's just not your typical pure evil one-note villain. I would say at this point that it's really hard to dispute the fact that his feelings for Jinx are actually very, very genuine. He actually cares about her a lot. And I don't think it's just Jinx either. He has the same feelings for all of the lanes. He wants a better world for them. Yes, the methods that he goes about trying to get that are wrong, and there's no doubt about it that he is still absolutely is a villain. But it is really important to recognize that Silco does have things that he cares about, and he does have things that sort of make him vulnerable. Because if you'll recall, earlier in the series, he would spout this whole be willing to sacrifice everything sort of rhetoric, and now that he has Jinx, now that he has his like nation of Zon, he does have things to lose, and it's kind of showing him, or showing everybody, that he does indeed have weaknesses. He has that and so many more interesting nuances to him that I think that's kind of why I like him so much. Why'd they have to do it to Marcus, man?
Sir, we've secured the area.
This is what war brings you, Jace. Maybe worth considering the whole creating weapons thing. I think at this moment he kind of chooses one of two paths. He learns how wrong it is and turns back, or he doubles down out of like anger or whatever.
I'll take responsibility.
You're a counselor's daughter. Your actions reflect on the entire body.
My actions? You know what else reflects on the council? It's citizens living on the streets, being poisoned, having to
She has a point.
Kingpin who wants to exploit them in a government that doesn't give a shit.
Caitlin.
They don't have a lot of good choices down in the undercity, do they?
I'm sure our daughter could use some rest after her adventures.
I like how the dad is like the nice one for the change. Kind of goes against the cliche, right?
Thank you.
You and your friend can address the council yourselves. I'd suggest you prepare accordingly.
At least she's sort of being given a shot, right? Back with Singed. What's going to become of him and Viktor? Oh, okay.
Her injuries are severe.
You think I can't see that?
I don't know how she's alive in the first place, if I'm honest.
But the process will be demanding. Sometimes death is a mercy. Are you prepared to lose her?
Ooh.
Jinx. Jinx.
I wonder if he's going to use Shimmer. That's how they treat a lot of injuries, right?
She won't die, Doctor. She can't.
I also don't know if that's what he meant by loser. Loser in a different way, perhaps.
Please understand this is for your own sanity.
Oh. What's that about?
Once had a daughter.
Huh. Who? Who's his daughter?
Silco isn't taking guests.
Not a problem. Wasn't here for him. Thought I might bend you here.
Was it Sky, maybe? I don't know. I don't know who his daughter would
I
be.
asked my mates what Silco's up to. Your name's first out of their mouths. Sevika is out in the harbor. Oh, Sevika paid the knuckleheads a visit.
This is your plan? Undermine Silco by making a half-assed play of my ego? Gotta hand it to you, Finn. Every time I think you can't get dumber, you dig a new low.
I think maybe.
Let's be plain.
She betrayed
He's slick.
Vander once.
The undercity is devolving into chaos.
Who's to say she won't betray again?
Feeling he isn't up there balancing bookshelves. Jinx gets a whim. Suddenly his spine's made of jelly. And here you are, shoveling his shit. Ego is one thing, brains another.
He's good at convincing. Those words are things she said herself, so.
You aren't the only one dissatisfied with his performance. There's bigger fish than Silco.
Finn is, I don't know. After what happened to him last episode, might be kind of foolish. That's all I'm saying. Sick looking uniforms. Oh boy. So who is she? And is she missing an arm?
Elora, you didn't have to come out to meet me.
What are you doing here, Mother?
Can I not visit? I've heard stories of Piltover's hospitality.
You didn't sail halfway across the continent to sample the local cuisine.
It's been over a decade, Mel.
Since you banished me.
Such drama. I sent you here to oversee our family's interests and grow yourself, which you have.
You said, perhaps your sentimentality will be more at home with those soft-spined idealists overseas.
You have your father's memory.
Don't try to ingratiate yourself with me.
Mel.
Or that.
Such a distinct look about her mother. It's pretty cool. I wonder, I don't think she's a league champ. I don't recognize, but maybe. We haven't gotten a name drop yet.
Your Jace Talus has turned his eye to Hextech weaponry.
I knew it.
War is coming. You've let the problems of your undercity fester too long.
Piltover isn't like Noxus. War isn't our first and every recourse. I sponsored Hextech to protect the city, not burn it to the ground.
It's not conjecture.
So what are you here for then?
Weapons can't be unmade and they are always used. I'm here to help guide you to the right decisions.
That was a good line though.
I don't need your guidance.
Weapons can't be unmade. It's true.
What happened to her? It's not your fault.
I mean, I agree. But
parents were still alive.
it'd be hard for her not to feel that way.
Me and Powder used to share a bed like this. Except maybe half the size. We played a game where we pretended to be bigger and bigger monsters. Sometimes I'd get carried away and she'd get scared. I didn't want her to start crying and wake my parents up, so I pretended to chase my own monsters away.
This is cute.
I'd say, no monster's gonna get you when I'm here. Then a real monster showed up,
And she wasn't there.
and I just ran away.
Yep.
I left her.
I mean, it was not quite how it went down, but fair enough. Oh my god, that transition. Oh yeah. She's getting juiced up for sure. Oh god, this is gonna be bad, isn't it? Oh no. If she was crazy before, what's she gonna be like with all that shimmer?
I understand this must be painful.
Her complete fear of being replaced is just on full display right now.
Get worse.
Oh my god. I see why he had to knock out Silco, because I don't think Silco would have let that happen. Like, it's like a horror movie. Jesus. Oh, the blood. Oh my god. Where is she?
What have you done?
I saved her life.
Where'd she go? Oh my god. This is just getting so bad. Is that Heimer? I like this. Oh my god, okay. Interesting discussion about to happen. I just want to see this scene through a little bit first. That was cool.
Like this. Get away from her.
Yeah, Heimer has been very neglectful of everything happening for a long time.
Oh, ingenious.
Oh wow, he found a firelights board.
Seem improperly pitched.
You're wrong.
Oh, he's meeting up with Echo? Echo's still alive.
Oh, are you all right, lad?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just sprained my ankle.
Somehow.
Are you Counselor Heimerdinger?
It's just Heimerdinger now.
What are you doing on this side of the river?
I wanted to offer my assistance.
I figure he would be much more disdainful toward counselors, but
It seems
suppose not.
unwelcome.
I have to get home. It isn't safe for me here. I don't know how I'm gonna get down there with my leg busted and, well, you're holding my ride.
Maybe you can fix your board. So in my episode 6 reaction video, I actually got a pretty long and detailed comment talking about how I have been sort of maybe overly defending of Heimerdinger and sort of maybe overly critical of Jace in some regards. And the comment talked about a lot of things, and I gotta say, a lot of the points that they made were actually pretty valid. A main point that I want to address now is that, to this commenter, Heimerdinger has been sort of complacent about everything happening in the Undercity. If you really think about it, Heimerdinger has been around since the inception of Piltover. He's been around for over 200 years. It's true that he's only one Yordle, he's only one counselor, there's only so much one person can feasibly do about this sort of thing, but I would say that he's grown complacent in the fact that he almost doesn't seem to acknowledge all the tragedy that happens in the Undercity. It's very obvious to say that Heimerdinger isn't a bad person, he isn't even necessarily that bad of a leader, but at the same time, he has sort of turned a blind eye to everything that happens in the Undercity, whether that's out of like a hyperfixation of science, or whether that's just out of complacency and pretty much ignorance. So many horrible things happen in the Undercity so incredibly frequently, with drugs and violence, gangs, people being thrown in prison unjustly for years and years and years, but it doesn't kind of come into Heimerdinger's scope until the attack on Progress Day, in which all of a sudden he's so surprised. He says, how could this have come to this? How could this have happened? And it is very clear that this is nothing new. This isn't something that just started happening that just sort of slipped under the radar for him. No, it's always been happening, but Heimerdinger has sort of just never addressed it. He's been willfully ignorant of it. And even though I don't completely take back everything I've said about Heimerdinger, like I said, I still think he's a good guy. I think his warnings about the sort of dangers of Hextech are still very, very valid, as we're seeing coming to fruition in the show. But I will say that I probably am a little bit of a victim, or not a victim, but I sort of fell for it. I fell for the trap that Heimerdinger would be this trope of this like old grandfatherly super wise character that just knows better than everybody else just because of his experience and how long he's been around. I think I might have fallen for that sort of trope idea a little bit, not to see Heimerdinger's flaws within himself as much. He isn't perfect, and now that he is kind of off his counselor seat, he's gone into the Undercity and he's seeing these things firsthand. He almost can't believe it. But even at the same time, you know, you have the little girl that comes up to him with the, you know, the nuts and bolts and all that. So he still sees the people in the city that need help. They're not beyond saving. And even though I don't think he should have been kicked off the council, I think that was a very, very drastic and serious move. I think, ultimately speaking, it could be a really good thing for him. It can kind of force him to open up his eyes and maybe come back stronger and with more resolve to actually help these sort of people. People that he claims are his own anyways. So yeah, I'm really excited to see the journey that Heimerdinger goes through, and hopefully he can have his own sort of transformation in a more mental sense.
Do they teach military history at your
I kind of want to get rich enough to get a massage and a bath at the same time. That'd be pretty cool.
And I'm not sure.
The Elorian general, Sonam Palek, used to find ways to meet his enemies blindfolded. He said a man's mind hides behind his body. Somehow I doubt he ever tried this.
You're Mel's mom.
Among other things. Squeeze, child. You won't break it.
I don't know what's going on here, but I don't know if I like it.
The threat of the Undercity is real. Your leadership is impotent.
We may not be Noxus, but Piltover isn't as helpless as you think.
Who said anything about Piltover? The Council is the problem. The mind hiding behind the body. Navigating your current crisis requires expertise you lack. I want you to succeed here, Jace. To grace the world with Hextech. But if you don't accept certain realities, I fear you'll end up like General Palek. Slaughtered with your eyes closed.
I don't know if that's the sort of experience you need, but we'll see. Pushed off Heimer's experience. I don't know why you wouldn't push off hers.
The sheriff betrayed us. We need better information.
We need to act before anyone else gets killed.
Perhaps Marcus was operating independently.
I see the path he's going down. Probably not the good one.
It's not what they offered him. It's what he had to lose.
Counselors, my daughter has
Our characters are finally meeting.
Situation.
Thank you. Counselors, this is Vi. She was born in the Undercity. Even though we failed her in countless ways, she risked everything to show me what life is really like down there. People are starving, sick, ravaged by Shimmer. They live in constant fear of the coordinated efforts of violent crime lords. One man leads these efforts, Silco.
We've done investigations of Silco. They yielded no such level of organization.
And who led these investigations?
Marcus.
What does the Silco even want from us?
He believes the Undercity should be independent. He calls it the Nation of Zorn.
Zorn. It's a hard word to say for me for some reason.
This Jinx has the gemstone.
We think.
We have to go in by force.
That could trigger war.
There are good people down there.
Bad ones, too.
Even if we wanted to invade, they have Shimmer.
We have Hextech.
What happened to you?
We've been talking about talking for weeks now. They're still cleaning the blood off the bridge. When do we say enough is enough?
Jace, you don't know war. I do.
You really, really don't.
There may be a diplomatic solution.
But he's angry.
She's right.
What?
Is he gonna take matters into his own hands?
It may be the only way to avoid further bloodshed.
This is insane. Did you learn nothing? You can't talk to him. He hates you, everything you stand for. He will never back down.
But she's right too. Which is why it's so complicated.
Please escort them out.
Forget it. I remember where your fancy damn door is.
War is bad, but there is no getting through to Silco either. So what do you do?
Wait.
I just fear what war will bring.
Came from? Seems like that's what everyone up here wants.
The collateral damage will just be so insane that it'll kind of just re-trigger the events of
How they've always been. I was so stupid to think
what killed her parents.
There must be something else we can do. Some other way. We'll make a new plan. We have to try.
We tried, okay? It wasn't enough. Top side and bottom, oil and water. That's all there is.
What about us?
Title drop.
Oil and water. Wasn't meant to be.
No.
Do yourself a favor, Cupcake.
That's not what the ships want to hear.
Back to that big, shiny house of yours and just forget me. Okay?
That's not how it works. They're gonna have a heroic reunite later. Viktor! I've been waiting for this. I've been holding my breath waiting to see where he's at. The ship in the background kind of goes back to the ship you made as a kid. Wow, look at that. Except this time he's not being outpaced by it, he's better than it. I'm happy for him, I think. You know, it's a cool thing to see. But I wonder if he has to have constant amounts of like shimmer injected into him.
Viktor, I've been working on this for a year now.
Is she gonna see something she's not supposed to? Or is this back when it first happened, maybe?
Viktor, I was hoping you might take a look at something I've been working on.
I can't tell if this was before or after that scene that just happened.
Viktor, I was inspired by your... Everything you do inspires me.
That's cute. Yeah, this is definitely before. What in the hell is happening? It's not good, whatever it is. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Whoa. Did she just straight up become like the energy source for all of this?
No, that can't. That can't.
Good lord. Wait, did he lose his arm as well? I can see why it's Heimerdinger thinks it's so dangerous. That was awful. She literally just disintegrated. That was almost unnecessary how awful that was. But I suppose I shouldn't be surprised with it being Arcane and all. Guess we've seen worse by now. I don't know what to say about that. That was just sad. I don't think it's even sunk in with me just because it was just so sudden.
I could have you arrested.
You guys really like to bandy that threat around.
Yeah, she's already been arrested plenty.
There is no in. You heard the council.
Fuck the council.
Oh god.
You said you were tired of doing nothing. That's the only sensible thing that came out of anyone's mouth tonight.
These are characters I like so much, but I'm just so unsure about what they're going for right now. And this is where she gets the gauntlets. And he's got the hammer.
This so people notice you when you raise your hand in the boardroom?
We built them for mining the fissures.
Mining the
Someone
fissures.
close to me had a pair of these. You're the first person Caitlin looked for when we made it to topside.
Your mining equipment looks
Everyone
suspiciously like weapons.
she trusted to do something.
And how do we do that?
Take out his manufacturing facilities. Hit him hard and fast before he can react.
Oh, this seems dangerous.
Got a deal, pretty boy?
It seems very dangerous. I'm not sure. I feel like she's just advocating for the same sort of action that made her hate the topside in general in the first place. And there he's got his hammer. Right on. Like I said, I don't play League, but I've played some TFT and I know that's his weapon. Same for Vianer gauntlets. Wow, you really let that happen? Somebody fire that enforcer. What the hell is this now? These like super powered soldiers with shimmer? Rip. Whoa. I mean, Jace is not really he doesn't have fighting experience at all. Is he gonna be able to do this? Oh, these things are sick. They look like Big Daddies from BioShock. It was about to be hype, I can tell. Oh, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Get that confidence up. Let's go. I do want to know what these things are, though. That was a really cool shot. Weapons for mining. Just weapons for mining is all they are. A naturally talented fighter, Jace. Being able to dodge all this. Yeah, Vi is gonna be a complete beast with these. This is just what Vander worried about the whole time, though. That's all I can think of. Just for mining. I think he's just going a little bit too hard right now. He kind of looks a little bit scary. It's that adrenaline, though. I think I like it, though. What was that? Oh. 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 Snap back to reality, I guess. Well, that was a way to kill the mood, I guess. Child soldiers, huh? I was not expecting that. How is this kid still alive? that pure adrenaline, I guess, if he didn't land on his head. Yeah, it doesn't last. Well, that's sad. Yeah, did you really think these people are going to look to you as a leader, as someone that wants to help them at this point? Your credibility is instantly gone. Nobody wins in war. Not really. Get back in there, Caitlin. I feel like she's the missing link to properly uniting them. Her and Heimerdinger could really probably make a big difference. Damn, that is a fancy shower. Probably better things to be looking at right now, but what can I say? Uh-oh. Oh. Oh, she's dead. That was Powder, or Jinx behind her. Whoa, okay. How is that gonna turn out? So about Caitlyn being that missing link, I'm starting to wonder if Caitlyn's gonna be around to be that missing link. It's definitely not looking good for her. I don't think being caught naked in the shower without a weapon would be the best place to run into a shimmered up loose cannon Jinx, who didn't even stay around to see Silco after everything that happened. The prospects of what Jinx could be like now are truly frightening. She's less stable, more unhinged, and probably more lucid than ever. As many of you have come to realize by watching my videos, one of the more fun things for me to do is sort of think about the future and think about what sort of paths lie ahead for some of our characters, and Jinx is one that I'm really unsure about. The way I normally interpret stories, I would see maybe like 3 paths available to Jinx right now. The optimistic way is that somehow she comes back with some sort of redemption and kind of gets that sort of happy ending where she reunites and realigns herself on the scales, but something tells me that that's probably not going to be the path she takes. The sad ending would be that she dies at the hands of either Silco, Vi, or Caitlyn, I suppose, which I obviously wouldn't want to see happen, but is a realistic possible outcome. And then there's the really pessimistic route where she sort of goes fully unhinged and becomes the proper villain after maybe something happens to Silco. Because realistically, I could see something happening to Silco maybe next episode. I don't know if that'll go that way. I don't know if Silco will be around forever, but I could see him realistically dying. And who better to replace him than Jinx, really? Well, she probably wouldn't be that good of a replacement, but... And a shimmered up Jinx would probably be even worse than Silco. I don't know which one of those options is the most likely, but one other way I could see it going is that somehow Jinx ends up, like, offing herself, or she ends up dying by her own hands, which in a weird way I see as more viable than any of them, but also probably more sad than any of them. Her and many other characters have shown, like, suicidal tendencies throughout the entire series, and it's never been, like, super overt and obvious besides, like, perhaps maybe that one time Jace was considering like throwing himself off the building in episode 2, but it's definitely been something that's been present, especially with all the grenades and whatnot. I think Viktor and Jinx both had a moment with the grenades where they almost seemed to consider it. Like I said, I don't know which way it's gonna go, but right now I don't feel like the series is gonna end on a happy note, at least not season 1. This whole time I've seen Vi and Silco be in the sort of competition for control of Jinx, because in a lot of ways, once again, Vi and Silco are actually pretty similar. They both essentially want the same thing for Jinx. They both know they're not respected by Piltover, they both see potential in Jinx and care about her, and both are obviously very willing to put themselves and so much else on the line for her. I just love how much they can have in common despite being like one of the main protagonists and basically the main antagonist. And I don't have as much to say about these, quite frankly, but RIP Sky, that was just awful. I don't really know why that happened. Maybe we're gonna get a little bit more explanation about it. I don't know how Viktor's gonna feel about that, with Viktor being someone that's been walking on the line of death this whole series, and him just basically causing someone that, one of the very few people that was obviously cared so much about Viktor, just having her die like that in front of him, arguably because of him, becoming his potential energy source for his experiment. Whatever she did, whenever she got absorbed, it sort of deactivated the hex core, so she did something to it with her sacrifice. And as twisted as it is, I kind of enjoyed seeing Jace's sort of shock and horror when he ended up killing that kid. Not that I wanted the kid to die, of course, but it was so interesting to see the contrast between Jace and Vi's expression when it happened. To Vi, this is just something that happens. It's something that she's so completely and utterly used to, seeing horrible things happen in the Undercity, but Jace has sort of lived his whole life in ignorance of this, so seeing the completely different reactions is just it's so telling. That'll do it for this episode. Next time I'll see you on the season finale, episode 9 of Arcane, in which I'm sure we're gonna have even more pain. Later.